There's a concept in the Fijian culture where we walk backwards into the future. It's this idea of, in order to know where we're going, we have to know where we come from. My name is Fenton Lutunatabua. I'm from the Fiji Islands. I have sort of maternal links to the north of Fiji and paternal links to the south of Fiji. And that's a very typical way of introducing yourself in Fiji. You sort of like place yourself, right? So it's the land and the ocean that define so much of who we are. I've been very fortunate. I'm one of the founders of the Pacific Climate Warriors. Over a decade ago, we decided that we really wanted to tell a more nuanced story about who we are as a people, aligned with our dignity and our integrity. They were like, what should we call ourselves? And so this identity, this idea of being warriors, people who defend our island homes, and we've been doing that ever since.
We are not running! We are fighting! We are not running! We are fighting!
Right now, we are a network across 17 Pacific Island countries, first and foremost, calling for an end to fossil fuels. The science is super clear. The expansion of the fossil fuel industry is exporting climate destruction to the Pacific. Over the years, we've also worked with different communities across different islands to figure out ways in which they can adapt to existing loss and damage from the climate crisis. That might look like a food sovereignty project in low-lying atoll islands that's only 2 meters above seawall, training villages and communities on how to build keyhole gardens, which are gardens built above the ground. We're working with communities in the Philippines to build, it's called tech packs, backpack-size solar panels that you can sort of build with just things that you can get from like a village shop, and they're particularly useful in post-disaster situations. So we really think about storytelling as a tool for organizing. I think stories allow for nuance and complexity in ways that data and statistics don't. And particularly, storytelling allows us to bring in more people via poetry, music, dance. If we can reach people at a point where they're capable of believing us, that's a pathway to climate justice, right?
Sasireka na mengo tinangu, and I will stick a mic into the sea and excavate areas of my soul I've been taught to forget.
It's a question that we ask ourselves quite a bit of representation. Whose stories and whose voices? Every space that we're in, we really try and make sure that we're catering to the margins as much as possible. We are reacting to a system, right, that is inherently broken. And there's ways in which you can reach diversity without being tokenistic, right? And so really making sure we're as vigilant as possible against tokenism as often as possible. There's a concept in the Fijian culture that describes our orientation to the future as a way in which we're walking with our backs turned to the future. It's an acknowledgement of elders and ancestors and all of the wisdom that they hold and we inherit, looking at what is in our hands for our elders and directly laying our hands onto the future. So if I'm with an elder, I'm just like, yo, tell me all the things, right? Because we come from cultures that didn't write things down. That's why dance is so important. Oral storytelling is so important to us. That's how we pass down history and genealogy, right? Nothing was written. What's wild is like a lot of people don't really think about the non-economic side of loss and damage because of the climate crisis. Like our totems, like the land, like our sense of spirituality, our sense of identity. Like how do we measure that importance, right?
Draw the line at 1.5.
You're truly never late to climate justice. There's so many things that's happening in the world, right? And we acknowledge it's all connected, and hope is what also connects all of us. We all have a role to play. We all have our different giftings, And it's how we show up to those gifts in service of that call to steward. That is so important for me. There's so much that's unseen that I need to make visible. Our sense of identity is tied to the natural world in ways that can't often be measured the way that we measure worth and value. And a good reminder that as we are called to steward, we're also called to respect. Yeah.